How's it going? How's everybody doing? Welcome to another episode of Lost Like Mike. I am your host, Mike Gonzalez. Coming in this week, got up early this morning, accomplished a lot of things for my son on that vehicle situation we talked about. I replaced the battery, did the state inspection, did all that kind of stuff, oil change, knocked a lot of things out. Sunday is a day of rest, and no disrespect to the Sabbath, but it's just I literally work 7 days a week. I'm constantly moving, and in order to do some of the things that I want to do for other people, I'm knocking out this podcast here in the early part of the morning. My point is I opted not to go to church today. And for those that have been listening recently, that it's one of the things that provides community and grounding for me. It centers me a little bit and helps me. But I just made an executive decision this week just to try to get ahead. And in order to do that, I'll still take a minute to meditate and take, some time to ground myself and to make myself feel better. But this week I'm taking the opportunity to knock out some of the things. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But anyway, before I get too far ahead, let me start off by saying I appreciate people that do listen. I appreciate the ones that are subscribers, that comment, and as always, encourage you to email me at lostlikemike@gmail.com. I've been contemplating reducing the duration of the podcast, doing a little research. It all started, my mom was telling me that she's trying to make the time to listen. It's I've had a couple people talk to me a little bit about. I had always been, whenever I'd listen to a podcast, or some of the ones are like 5 hours long, 4 hours long, like your Joe Rogans, things like that, and some almost on average are an hour. I'm not here to mansplain podcast time durations, but I was researching the most common 31% of podcasts are between 20 and 40 minutes long, and I know in this day and age, a lot of people's attention spans are much shorter than that. It's one of the main reasons I kind of want to do clips and short little quick installments, segments from the episode, so that people can hear a story or two, or hear me fumble over words for 5 minutes instead of an hour or 50 minutes or whatever we do right now. Pretty much, I enjoy telling the stories and talking and figure things out with you, and saying what's happened in the past week or whatever. And I don't really feel like I'm just throwing in filler, although we have talked about doing like random topics and things like that. This is really my therapy. It's my ability to get in here and say what's going on in my mind. And sometimes I walk away feeling like that I at least have a little bit more of a grasp on how I'm feeling or what's going on in my mind. So I may be considering changing the format to being somewhere around the range of maybe a 30-minute podcast. But I don't want to seem like I'm doing it for any other reason other than I would like to have a bit of a format, a way to come in and out to say, how you doing? This is where I'm at. This is what's on my mind. Here's a story or two that pops, comes to mind, and then call it a day. Sometimes that might go over that amount. Sometimes it might be right around that area of between 30 and 40 minutes. That's what I'm leaning towards. And as always, I always advise that if you go to either the all audio podcast, if you're listening to it on Spotify or any of the other podcast platforms, I think even YouTube's having a podcast platform here in a minute. Or if you go to YouTube, either way, you can increase the speed of the show, right? So there's a little button that says like normal speed or like 2 times the speed, and you would think that it would be like all chick monkey, like, but it's not. It's just a little bit faster. Like early on I made the joke or the comment that if you ever listen to NPR, there's a great show which I dare to call a podcast because it's I think they have a version of it that's a podcast, but called This American Life with Ira Glass. And if you listen to me on 2 times the speed, I sound like him, or sometimes I sound like him. A slightly higher pitch, and then just more staccato sentencing. Like it just sounds like my words are placed a little bit more like that. Like but anyway, I digress. All I'm trying to say is that if currently the episodes seem like they are too long, or like it's just a time crunch. Personally, I usually do it in segments. I'll listen to a little bit of any given podcast when I'm driving, and then I'll come back and finish it, whatever. No pressure. But to round that up, I'm just basically saying that I may opt to do a shorter version of the podcast, and nothing too crazy, just maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes instead of the full hour. Solely based on the consensus that is a more digestible amount of time. Write me in the comments. Let me know if you think it should be, changed or whatever. I did want to do a new title sequence on the intro. I was going to say like a photo montage, but speaking of which, what is with iPhones? I'm in the middle of a work day. I messed with my phone to move something. I have my earbud in and I'm doing my work and I'm messing with the phone. Tell me how, and it's somehow I hear this music start playing and I look at my phone and it just starts playing like a picture montage from my camera, and like all these pictures of my little girl when she's real tiny, and just like pictures over the years, right, with this like sentimental music playing, and I'm there just like all feeling all kind of verklempt, looking at these pictures. What? Like, what's happening here? Like, I'm being like a surprise assault from my phone, trying to make me feel all these emotions in the middle of my workday. It was very sweet, all these little pictures and stuff. And then every now and then just a dumb picture of me like holding, I don't know, 2 different pairs of glasses, so, that I took so that I could have my wife's opinion of glasses or whatever. And then a sweet picture of my daughter and hanging out with the dog when they're little, and a picture of my son, and then a picture of a cracked windshield. It's like, okay, I get it. But for the most part, it was very cute. Just an uninvited assault on my emotions. How about that? But yeah, I just figured I had a very, I like my title sequence. If you ever watched the YouTube video, it's, I created that on a Canva program, but I don't know. I just think it's time for a new one. So we'll work on that as well. But the first part of the show, I just basically want to give an update. I've dropped some weight. I've lost a few pounds. I don't like saying it because I also had previously gained a bunch of weight, when I initially said I was going to lose weight. But I'm down, let's see. Yeah, 16 pounds from that, previous bell where I went from losing all that weight and then finding it, putting it right back where it was, and telling it not to go anywhere. And then this latest stint of trying to do something. And I have a show. We're doing a performance, and at the end of April, then I kind of want to, get in fighting shape for it. But so that's the plan anyway. And one of the other things I'd said was, I've kind of packed a lot into the Sunday because I'm not going to church today. So part of getting centered is doing for others. So I did a lot of work on the car for my son, and then I'm going to do a bunch of yard work. I'm just squeezing this podcast in between the two so that I can do that, because I do it on Sundays, normally after church. I'm doing this kind of like faux keto diet where I'm kind of doing the keto diet. I'm basically just eating whatever my wife says I can eat and getting mad about half of it. Like, I don't get it. But it's kind of like, looks like keto, but sounds like a low calorie diet with just a hint of intermittent fasting. So my wife and daughter are leaving tomorrow morning. They're going to, my daughter has her doctor's appointments in the Houston, Galveston area. And it's where they kind of do x-rays and see what her progress is on her hips. And kind of, she's meeting a new doctor this time because the doctor that we actually really like retired. But they're going to do all the tests, and they're going to do all the stuff to figure out where she's at. And it's kind of a difficult thing to an extent, because sometimes the prognosis, sometimes the plan is for an eventual additional surgery for her. And you want to hear that things are just sort of happening on their own, and the braces and the different things that they try are working. But I'm not going with them. It's one of those things that, if, like I kind of mentioned in previous episodes, but I'm a bit much when it comes to like these medical procedures and going to these things. It's a little bit of that and a little bit of vacation time at my work that I haven't really accumulated that amount of, but if I was so inclined, I could go. Okay. But, it's one of those things where it's kind of where they've established it that my wife and daughter sort of have this mother-daughter time on these trips. They do some shopping and different things. Like, it's become a tradition, that's something that they do together. And so I respect it, but it's also, it's a tricky bit because I at a point when they first started going on these trips, I mean, I was just a wreck. It was very difficult for me to be in the house alone. I would just get in my own head and I wouldn't be able to sleep. Not like, it's weird because it's not like, I'm not afraid of the things that, I don't know. It's not like fear of like ghosts but it's just this sort of disconnected thing that I keep talking about. This where I feel like a tree falling in the forest, sometimes, where I don't feel like, I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but over the years, I've kind of gotten somewhat better. The dog, when she's not being too difficult, is very helpful. Right now, she's asleep. I think she's figured out that on Sundays I come in here and spend some time. So last week she came in and fell asleep right there in front of me, and today she's asleep in front of me again. I kind of like that. You ever heard the expression they're usually talking about a significant other that's testy, but sometimes I love her best when she's asleep. When I first was setting up everything, she came right up in front and wanted me to pet her, and then started, bull in a china shop, knocking everything over with her big old butt. But she's figured it out, and now she's found her spot, and she's all gravy. So, but yeah, so lately in the past, maybe because they go on other trips and things, I've figured out certain means to make things easier. The dog helps, and we'll sort it out. But yeah, that's coming up. So tomorrow. I enjoy meals alone. I think it was Leonardo DiCaprio that said something about eating alone or doing things alone. But I don't want to just randomly say something that's going to be like, what are you talking about? But I used to go really early before work, and I would go to this Denny's, like a little diner, and I'd sit there with the paper and eat like a very square breakfast. And there was something peaceful about that. I would hate it if I even got that wrong. Wow, did I just... It says it's on a TikTok, so that could be it's full of garbage. If you have the power to eat alone in a restaurant or sit alone in a cinema, then you can do anything in your life. I don't know how I remembered that, or whether or not it's true. But yeah, I used to eat breakfast in the morning by myself at these little diners and stuff, and it was very peaceful. I think it's like issues have sort of progressed since then, where I feel like I don't know if that is possible anymore. Like the level of distractions and things that I do. But yeah, I mean, I used to work at a hotel, and I would go watch movies by myself. I didn't even care what I watched. I would just go over and see what was playing, and you know, buy a little popcorn or soda or whatever, and it was long before I ever worked at a movie theater. It was one of the motivating factors for me to even get a job at a movie theater. It's a long story, but basically, I worked at a hotel, and I was kind of everything at this hotel, where I started off as a reservation taker over the phone and shuttle driver, and then became like a concierge and manager and general manager, and at one point in between all that, I became a sales manager. Wow, it's exciting stuff I'm telling y'all today. Anyway, I was basically, I would go out and find, you know, people to come stay at the hotel, like construction groups or like whatever. And so sometimes I would go out and drive and kind of beat the bushes for like new clients for the hotel. Right? That's a long story short. And I saw that they were building this movie theater. And I went in to just talk to these different construction workers that were there. And long story short, I ended up finding a mass hiring thing that they were doing for this hotel, for this theater. Sorry. And I just decided to do a part-time job. It's right around the time of American Beauty, or rather, you know, it was a Kevin Spacey movie, and in the movie he talked about wanting to he got a job at like a restaurant to do mindless, you know, work. He just wanted to do something it didn't require him to be too involved. He just wanted to, you know, a simple job. And so I thought I'd get a little part-time job doing that, working at a theater, pushing a broom or whatever. Yeah. And that's how I ended up there. But working at a theater, I should say, I opened up that same theater that I went to go cold call. But where was I going with all that? I don't even remember. Oh, watching movies alone. So yeah, subsequently, I mean, I still periodically throughout the years have gone to see a movie, but never like I did when I was there. I would literally go once a week, every week, before I had a job at a theater. I went to see more movies during that period. It was just every week I would go. And I went back and visited that same theater. It was kind of like one of those, they always had more movies because it was one of those second round theaters where they would show movies that had already played in their major release. They would re-release them at this smaller theater. And I went back many years later, and it's just, having worked at a theater, it was just garbage, man. I mean, the floors were like beyond sticky. Where like every step was like, and they would shovel out ice and with their dirty hands out of a trough, and then make you drink. And it was a manager. I remember it was a manager that made my drink. She got the cup, no glove, no nothing. Just check it out, man. I'm gonna get this glove, and I'm gonna get this cup and get all this ice, and the only thing that she needed to do to cap it off was like run her hand across her face and wipe her boogers. That would have been the only additional thing she could have done to like cap off that moment. I had to double take, like, are you serious right now? Like, that's how you do things? I mean, I wouldn't even have accepted this, but if I would have given her E for effort if she would have had like a universal cup, you know what I mean? But not even, it was just my cup that she just palmed with her hand, dug it in there, and here you go. It's gross. But anyway, it's weird because you don't notice these things. That's why I always say that I wish that people could, as a prerequisite to go see a show or to go do anything, like you want to go get your oil change, try to do it yourself one time. Just gonna go through the motions and see what a pain in the ass it is. And then you have just that much of a more of an appreciation, or you at least know what you're watching out for. Like, I was thinking about that today because I was tipping people. Like I went to get my battery changed, and the battery changed on this car. So I go over, and and it was like at an O'Reilly's, right? And the guy's like, "Oh, put the battery on this tray," and he like wheels this tray out with his toolkit, and he's like, "Could you pop your hood?" And then this dude came and installed the battery, unprompted, just did it. And it was not like just taking off the terminals and putting it on. I mean, this kid like had to take off this cage that was around the battery, and he was sitting there cleaning the terminals, like the interiors, with this wire brush to get the acid build. What is it called? You know what I'm talking about? The that crud that builds up all around the terminals. I mean, this battery hadn't been changed in years, So I gave him some money because I was like, dude, I've changed batteries, and maybe it's harder for me to change a battery than others, but it was a pain, you know what I mean? Like finding the correct, doohickeys, the twisty ones. Yeah, it's probably harder for me. And then I went to go to the oil change place, and the guy look, I wanted a state inspection, and I knew that because I'm transferring over to my son, there's going to be a whole thing with the insurance and and then like I was like, well, I need this particular kind of oil change. It's super expensive, and I was like looking for coupons, and then the dude's like, I'll take all your coupons that you find. So he ended up using a one coupon for this free cabin filter, and then a super discount on and then they did the state inspection or whatever, and they kind of like let the insurance go, since it's like being transferred over into my son's name. So I didn't have a picture of that one for him. Anyway, all that's extra information. Bottom line was that this other people that were doing this stuff really went above and beyond to help me out. So I was throwing money their way. But people don't see how hard it is. I don't think. Because I was asking my wife, I said, should I throw some cash if he installs the battery for me? And she's like, no, it's part of what they do. It's just they get paid for doing that, you know. I'm not saying she's like cold about it or whatever, or like not wanting to be, you know, sharing or like generous sharing. It's not like she's not generous. She's a generous person. But I think it's culturally not an acceptable practice to like tip certain industries versus others. You know, for example, like singers and musicians, right? Do you tip musicians and singers? I'm not talking about people that are, I'm not talking about street performers like troubadours or whatever. Only. I'm saying like if you are at a restaurant or a bar and there's a band playing. In certain instances, obviously if it's like an original band that's just performing a show, you obviously don't go up and look for a tip bucket and drop some money down. Or, you know, if you're going to see an arena show, it's U2 or whoever it is, and you don't go looking for a tip. I get that. I'm saying if you're at a restaurant or a restaurant bar and you see a trio on a little mini stage, do you find yourself inclined to tip those musicians? People do, because I mean, I make some money doing it that way. I'm a performer that performs, 3 to 4 times a week. And some nights, I mean, people will come up and be like, can you play this song? And then they'll walk away. They'll come back up. All right, can you play this song? And after a couple, you're like, dude, I got this one guy who's like, hey, could you learn a Rod Stewart song like during your break? And then walked away. No tip. And I could learn a Rod Stewart song during the break. But why would I? I mean, what is the motivating factor that's going to cause me to learn, Wake Up Maggie, whatever song? I just, the entitlement, like what you, or like they'll say, man, y'all are great, man, y'all are great. Hey, could you play this obscure B-side of this artist you've never heard of? And then they're holding the money in their hand and you're like, no, but I mean, I've never heard of that artist. What kind of artist would that be similar? I could get you something. They're like, something, whatever. And then, okay, you could play that then. But then they don't throw that money in because you didn't know that, one tune. And it's like, you've enjoyed the show, right? And then you have the opposite. The people that, I remember there was this one guy and he walked in and this real loud suit on, which incidentally, let me tell you something. If it's the middle of the summer heat, right? Or if it's a warm night and you have a bunch of business guys come in and they're wearing the 3-piece suits and they're wearing the suit, the coat and everything, then they are not wealthy people. Don't be fooled. Those are some fronting people that are just trying to project themselves as being successful and wealthy, but they are poor as dirt, or they're frugal as hell and need to save every penny. It's the ones that don't care. They take the coat off, loosen the jacket, whatever. They're just hanging out in the shirt, whatever. they're more comfortable people that with their wealth. They're not trying to. They could care less if you think that they're wealthy or not. Because those people that wear those coats and sit around and whatever, they're trying to, the ones that are fronting, they don't tip for nothing. They never do. I wonder if this is the right side over here on this side to look. Anyway. But it was like a normal night. This guy comes in and he had a loud sort of color. It was like an electric blue suit. I don't know what he did for a living, but he came in and he threw like a couple $100 bills in the tip jar. For nothing, he hadn't even been there long enough to even know. He just liked the song and it brought him into the venue. And then he came up and he's like, "Good job, would you play this song for me or whatever?" And then he threw a couple more $100 in there. And I didn't care if we knew it or not. We were going to play it. We played whatever it was. There's been a couple instances like that in my life. It were like over the years playing. I remember one time we were playing at this bar downtown. And this group of people came in. They had a little bit of accents, like probably it was like a Latin accent, right? And the guy's like, it was towards the end of the night. We were kind of winding down. He's like, "Would y'all play this song for me or something?" And he threw like, $30, like $40, something like that. And could you play some songs for me? And we played the songs. And then the night was going to be over. And my guy was like, "I'm done, dude. I'm tired." And then the table with these people, he comes up and he says, "Play another song. We just got here. We don't want to end." And they had a hard out for us. The club owners were like, you got to finish by this time. You can get off stage. We're open for another hour. You can sit with them or whatever, but you got to get off the stage. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be on the speakers and whatever. So this guy's like, and he has like, he's like, "Just play me and I go, "Do you want to do it?" I tell my guy. And he's like, "No, man, I'm out. I'm done." And this guy's got a $100 bill in his hand. You know what I mean? You know what? I don't want to tell the story wrong. So, yeah, he's like, "Play me a couple songs," right? And I think my guy stayed for that. And he's like, "I'm going to cut and run." Like, he's like, "I'm done after that." And that was for $100. And the guy's like, "Come on, play me a song. Don't leave," right? And in my mind, I'm thinking, this fool's going to give me at least another $20, another whatever. So he's like, "Play me a song." And he points at his guys, "What do y'all want to hear?" And so I start playing a song, and he hands me $100, like as I'm playing the song. So he says, "What do I want to hear?" And then, so I'm playing the song, got $100. This other one goes, "Any Beatles songs that you know?" And he's like, "You could, all the Beatles songs." When I tell you that I went through the entire catalog, I didn't even know how to play. And I sang the entire song of Yesterday. I don't even know where I heard the words of that song or how I knew the words. But for $100, I'll make up words and sound like Paul McCartney for $100. Anyway, long story short, he ended up doing like, 3-4 songs. It was like $400 deep. And I was like, this is kind of kooky. This is too much. This is kind of getting weird. And then the guy says, come with us. We're about to leave from here. I had to go to work. I think it was like from that moment, I had to go to work maybe 6 hours from that moment at my day job. And he was like, come with us. We're flying to New Orleans. We're going to have parties. We're going to be partying, however he said it. And you can hang out with us and play music. And yeah. The truth was, those were all the songs I knew. I had to dip. But, so flash forward, we were, I was playing at a newer venue that we play at. And I had been drinking a little bit, in all fairness. And this one group asked if I would stick around and play. So what flashes in my mind is, that story of making like $400 or $500 in 20 minutes playing a couple songs. So I'm like, yeah, I'm down, right? But I had a new guitar that I got that I use at those shows, right? And it's a pear-shaped guitar on the back. If you ever seen an acoustic guitar, most are kind of like flat on the back. They look like a box that's shaped like a pear. But some guitars have a rounded back that it's just a style thing. Like if you look them up, I'll try to put a picture of one if you're watching on YouTube. If not, then just if you can use your imagination, it kind of looks like a guitar-sized version of what they used to have in like the Middle Ages, like the players that would have a round back guitar. Anyway, I didn't think it through, and I was a little bit tipsy, and it was too loud at the venue. So I'm like, come on, follow me this way. And we walked to the river level of where we're at, and I found there was a closed jazz bar close by to where we were at. And I was like, I guess here's cool. And we sat down, and the guitar kept slipping out of my lap because the round back was sliding off my. And so I was playing these stupid songs, and in my mind, I'm like, if I was sober, let me tell you how simple it would have been. Stand up and wear this stupid strap. Would have been all I had to do, and it would have been fixed. But not me. I was sitting there on the chair with these people sitting around me. The only saving grace was that they were just as tipsy, if not way more tipsy than I was. So I was cashed. My voice was, I'd been singing for 4 hours. I was tired. And here I am with this guitar that's slipping, and I'm playing chords and it's falling out. And they're just thinking that this is like an experience. Or they're thinking, wow, this was the worst ever. But somehow I did it. But, oops, sorry to shake you. Anyway, Yeah, and they ended up giving. They were supposed to give me like $50. They gave me like $100 for hanging out with them and playing songs. And in all fairness, it was okay. I just looked like I was drunk because the guitar kept falling out of my lap, and I'm playing like I'm all passionate, but it's not really. I can't keep the guitar upright. So stupid. I don't know how we got there, but yeah. So I just think that if people knew how hard it was to do certain things, they would be like more appreciative. That's how I feel. Although, I called my son and he was like still just barely waking up, and I was like, dude, I just got finished doing all this stuff for you. So, but anyway, that's all I got for you this week. I'm going to do some yard work and some other adventures. So take care, everybody. Hit me up on lostlikemike@gmail.com. Let me know how you're doing. We'll have some fun things in the next couple weeks. That's my dog snoring. Oh, by the way, I had edited out of last episode, but last episode she tooted real bad. It just stunk up the whole room, and I edited out. So at the end of the episode, I talk about the dog crop dusting me the way that I had been crop dusted by other people, but it seemed out of context. I'm just putting that out there. It was her. She didn't even wake up when I told her. I was like, dude, that was stinky, and she just slept through it, and she don't care. All right, take care, everybody. I will see you on the flip side, and thank you for subscribing and for hanging out. All right, we'll see you around.